what I do as a tax lawyer is a team activity. So I will step in and I will structure a client's corporate affairs in a way that's going to minimize tax for them. A lot of the times that could involve the pre-sale tax planning, or if you're looking at a business that's going to stay within the family, I'm focused on succession and how to defer as much tax as possible to the next generation. My structure can work very well, but unless it's looked at on an annual basis and they have their team around them, so they have their accountant, their financial advisor, they're working with an insurance advisor, right, to potentially manage liquidity on their passing. That's when you're going to fully leverage the structure that we're implementing. So with all of these advisors speaking and collaborating with each other, I feel like that's the best outcome for the client. I would advise an owner manager that's looking to sell a business in the near future, whether it's 5, 10, 15 years out, to connect with a tax lawyer as soon as possible, because if you can put yourself in the right corporate structure, there is an opportunity to minimize tax on the sale. So please don't wait till you get that letter of intent, because there really is very little planning that what's available to you when you're about to sell a business. If a business owner is going to be looking to sell their business, you are going to want to consider the structure that you have in place to see if there's an opportunity to minimize tax on the sale, right? And I work with owner managers to ensure that if there is a sale event in the near term, that they are looking at structuring it in a way to ideally multiply the lifetime capital gains exemption with their family members. And a common way we do that is using a trust structure. A company's corporate records are very important, particularly at the time of sale. But in advance of a sale, anytime I'm going to be doing a tax reorganization or work with the family, I need to understand who the shareholders are. And our starting point for that will be their corporate minute book. So before we do any type of planning and implementation, we're working with the client's accountant and the review of their corporate minute book to ensure that the reporting on an annual basis aligns with the shares that were actually issued in the company. So it's very important to keep those records up to date. It makes the administration on a go forward a lot more seamless, and it allows you to implement and pivot much quicker when you know that the corporate records are current. Yeah, so very generally, when you're looking to sell a business, it's either going to be a share sale or an asset sale. As the vendor or someone that's selling the business, in the best case scenario, you can have a share sale that allows you to utilize your lifetime capital gains exemption and potentially multiply it with your family members if you have that right structure in place. Now, more often than not, when you're negotiating with the buyer, they might tend to favor an asset sale because they're not going to get any of the existing liability when they purchase those assets. So it certainly becomes a negotiation, but if you have that leverage as the vendor to understand you get a significant tax benefit by selling the shares, especially if you can multiply that lifetime capital gains exemption, it makes that understanding of whether an asset sale or a share sale is worth your while. The family dynamic, as everyone can probably appreciate, varies family by family, but there's this underlying connection, right, that will always keep them together, and that's because they are family, right? This is not a third-party business partner that they're going into business together. So there's certainly this human element of working together and building something generationally together. Having said that, I really take an important focus on the family governance aspect of any structure that we implement, because we're really going to want to think about how does this family continue to operate and work together on a go-forward basis. So unlike working on a shareholders agreement where we're looking really at buyout terms and how these parties will exit or split off if needed, we're really focused on how can we keep everyone together and together happy for that entire next generation to take over? And are we going to put safeguards in place to really mitigate against some of these issues that you would foresee. And that's when there's an opportunity for that matriarch or patriarch to kind of set that roadmap out for the next generation, and through what I call a family constitution, but at its core, it's a unanimous shareholders agreement that they're entering into. As a business owner, really focusing on your goals for your business, right? Understanding where you want your business to be in the near term and in the long term, and whether you see your family taking a key role in taking on a lot more of those responsibilities moving forward. Once you're able to decide if this is going to be a business that you're selling while you're the manager, owner manager, right? Or if this is a business that you are planning to keep within the family, the direction of the planning available to you changes. And there's no right answer. So really taking the time to reflect and understand the business that you're in, I think is a great starting point for anyone.